Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking at John D. Rockefeller Sr., but maybe not just as the oil guy everyone knows.
Right. We're focusing on something else, his incredible skill as a networker. A master networker, really.
Exactly. We've gone through the sources you provided and mapped out, well, 7 distinct stages in his career.
And in each stage, we're going to unpack how he used networking, what he gained from it, and what lessons are there for entrepreneurs, today.
Yeah, it's not just the standard story. We think you'll find some surprising angles here based on the materials we analyzed.
Okay, so where do we start? Stage 1 seems to be laying the foundation in early business. This is way back, 1855 or so. He was only 16.
Just 16. And already, the sources show him displaying this instinct for connection.
So what does that look like, practically speaking?
Well, first, even as a young bookkeeper's assistant, he wasn't just stuck behind a desk. He was out there, talking directly, negotiating with barge owners, ship captains, freight agents for his employer, Hewitt and Tuttle.
Wow, getting his hands dirty right away.
Absolutely. And second, he figured out pretty quickly that the listed shipping rates weren't, set in stone.
The rebates.
Exactly. He realized there were deals to be made, discounts for preferred shippers. That's crucial insight.
Definitely tuck that away for later. And the third point for this early stage.
The family connection. At 20, he needed capital for his first partnership, Clark, Gardner and Company. He had saved $800, which was a lot, but not enough.
So he turned to his father. Big bill.
Yep, borrowed $1,000 from him. Critically, though, he treated it professionally, paid interest, not just a handout.
So, connecting those dots, what were the immediate benefits of this early networking?
Well, the direct engagement with shippers gave him this really granular understanding of transportation costs. The nuances, the flexibility, huge later on.
And knowing about the rebates, that's pure gold for someone heading into the oil business where transport is everything.
Totally. And the loan from his dad. It simply made the first venture possible. It bridged that capital gap.
So the partnership itself, formed with $4,000 total capital, put them in a position to really profit, especially with the Civil War driving demand.
Right. So for anyone listening who's starting out, what are the lessons here?
Well, first, get out there. Talk directly to your suppliers, your service providers, understand their world. You might find flexibility you never expected.
And don't ignore personal connections for that initial boost, whether it's funding or advice, but keep it professional, like Rockefeller paying interest.
Good point. And finally, strategic partnerships are key. They bring capital, yes, but also different skills, shared expertise. That combo can be powerful.
Okay, let's move to stage 2, entering the oil refining world. This is a big shift.
Yeah, he's zeroing in on oil, and his networking becomes much more targeted now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About getting specific knowledge and control.
Exactly. 3 key moves stand out in the sources. First, partnering with Samuel Andrews.
The technical guy. Andrews knew refining, which was still a pretty new science.
Precisely. Rockefeller needed that know-how. Second, the big buyout. He bought out his initial partners, the Clark brothers.
That was in, February 1865? For a hefty sum, too. $72,500.
A very decisive move. And third, the sources really emphasize this. The buyout was absolutely pivotal for his entire career path.
Okay, let's unpack the benefits. The Andrews partnership, that's straightforward. It gave him instant access to essential technical knowledge he just didn't have.
Right. Solved a major operational gap and buying out the Clarks.
Control. Complete control. He could steer the ship exactly where he wanted. No arguments, no compromises.
Which was crucial because the timing was perfect. Post-Civil War, the economy's expanding and oil is starting to fuel it. He was positioned to ride that wave.
So the lessons for entrepreneurs looking back.
1. Find partners with skills that fill your gaps, especially in core technical or operational areas. It's synergy.
2. Sometimes you have to make bold, potentially expensive moves to consolidate ownership if you need that unified strategic direction. Don't be afraid to take control.
And 3. Recognize those critical moments. A decisive action at the right time can completely change your future. That buyout was one of those moments for him.
Makes sense. Okay, stage 3, founding and consolidating Standard Oil. This starts around 1870. This is where things really scale up.
Oh, yeah. His networking shifts into high gear now. It becomes a tool for, rapid domination, frankly.
So what are the key networking strategies we see here?
First, he built this incredibly strong inner circle. Managers, owners within Standard Oil, capable people who grew with the company.
Cultivating that loyal, talented team, smart. What else?
Second, the systematic approach to competitors. He didn't just try to crush them initially, he approached them with buyout offers, often described as fair terms.
Fair can be subjective, but the strategy was clear. And the third element.
This was brilliant. He often didn't just pay cash, he'd offer profitable stakes, shares in Standard Oil itself.
So turning rivals into stakeholders, aligning their interests with his success.
Exactly. Even major players like Pratt and Rogers eventually came aboard, sometimes through secret agreements. They became part of the Standard Oil machine.
And the results of this networking blitz.
Pretty staggering. Look at the Cleveland Conquest in 1872. Standard Oil bought out 22 of its 26 competitors there in less than 4 months. Just absorbed them.
Wow. And offering stock wasn't just about saving cash, was it?
No, it was genius. It tied the fortunes of the former owners to Standard Oil's future growth. Plus, he often kept their talent, integrating experienced managers into his own structure.
So lessons for someone building a business today.
Build that core team. A strong inner circle is vital. People you trust who are highly capable.
And when you're looking at acquisitions, think creatively about the terms. Maybe equity, key roles. Make it a win-win if you can. It smooths the process.
Definitely. And finally, strategic consolidation, done right through careful negotiation, relationship building, it can be an incredibly powerful path to market leadership. It requires finesse.
Okay, moving on. Stage 4 brings conflict. Battling the railroads. This shows a different side of his networking, dealing with powerful adversaries. The big one was with the Pennsylvania Railroad in 1877, right? Over costs.
Exactly. And here, his past networking paid off in new ways. 3 things jump out.
Go on.
First, he already knew the railroad industry inside out. Remember those early days negotiating shipping? He understood their pricing, their leverage points, deep knowledge.
That prior experience was critical. Second,
When the Pennsylvania Railroad tried to get into the oil business themselves, basically competing with their biggest customer, Rockefeller didn't just complain, he acted. He withheld Standard Oil shipments, hit them where it hurt.
a power move. And the third networking aspect.
Alliances. He didn't fight them alone. He actually worked with other railroads to start a price war against the Pennsylvania Railroad.
Using their competitors against them. Clever. So what were the big outcomes here?
Well, the conflict directly pushed Standard Oil to double down on pipelines, investing in them, acquiring them, creating their own transport network, independent of the railroads. That was huge.
A massive strategic advantage. Less dependency.
Absolutely. And by collaborating with other railroads, they put enough pressure on the Pennsylvania Railroad to basically win the dispute over rates and territory. It solidified their logistical dominance.
So the insights for today.
Know your key partners' industries as well as you know your own. Understand their business.
Right. And be ready to act decisively if a crucial partnership sours. Don't be passive. Have a backup plan.
And don't underestimate the power of alliances, even temporary ones with competitors, to navigate industry conflicts. Oh, and definitely build alternatives to reduce reliance on any single critical partner like you did with pipelines.
That pipeline move was key. Okay, stage 5. Navigating public opinion and antitrust. Standard Oil is huge now. People are starting to push back.
Yeah, the tide begins to turn. The sheer scale and power attract scrutiny, legal challenges, negative press. His networking needs to adapt again.
So how did he try to manage this? What were the signs?
Well, first, the legal battles intensified. Starting with a major indictment in Pennsylvania back in 1879, it became a constant stream of court cases, investigations. Dealing with government and legal networks became crucial.
Whole new front. Second.
The press became increasingly hostile. You have investigative journalists digging in. And the most famous example, of course, is Ida Tarbell's book in 1904, The History of the Standard Oil Company. Very damaging.
Right, that really shaped the public image. So, legal fights, bad press. How did he respond? What's the third point?
Initially, their strategy was mostly silence. But eventually, they realized that wasn't working. They shifted toward a more active public relations effort.
Trying to control the narrative.
Attempting to, yeah. Rockefeller started giving some conciliatory comments, interviews, and eventually published his own memoirs, trying to tell his side of the story.
How effective was all that? What were the benefits, if any?
It's complex. Engaging with the press, even late, was an attempt to influence perception. The memoirs gave his perspective, though, people questioned its objectivity.
Sure.
And the legal battles. Well, ultimately, they led to the breakup of Standard Oil in 1911. But the whole experience highlighted just how vital managing government and public relations is for any massive company. You can't ignore it.
So, the lessons learned from this difficult period.
As your business grows, especially if it becomes dominant. Public perception and government relations aren't optional extras. They're core functions. You need strategies, relationships.
Proactive image management is key. Don't wait for the criticism to mount before telling your story.
Exactly. And accept that significant success often brings legal and regulatory scrutiny. You need the expertise and the networks to navigate that. It's part of the territory.
Okay, let's shift gears. Stage 6, the era of philanthropy. Rockefeller steps back from daily business. Now his networking is about giving money away, building institutions.
It's a really interesting transition. And his approach to networking here is revealing too. 3 aspects stand out.
What are they?
First, the immense value he placed on his wife's advice, Laura Spelman Rockefeller. He famously said her business judgment was always better than his, a key personal advisor.
Trusting close counsel. Second.
He didn't just wing it with philanthropy. He sought out expert advice, primarily from Frederick Taylor Gates after 1891, and later his own son, John D. Rockefeller, Jr. He listened to them on how to structure his giving.
Bringing in professionals for the philanthropic strategy. Smart.
And third, the scale and focus of the giving. He didn't just write checks. He founded or heavily supported major institutions. University of Chicago, Rockefeller University, the Rockefeller Foundation, and others, building things that would last.
So the benefits of this networked approach to giving back.
Well, trusting advisors like his wife meant tapping into valuable, different perspectives.
And getting expert guidance from Gates and his son led to that systematic approach the sources mention. Using foundations for targeted long-term impact, not just scattered donations.
Exactly. Maximum impact. And the institutions he built, their legacy is incredible. Groundbreaking medical research, fighting diseases like hookworm and yellow fever, transforming education and science globally.
So the entrepreneurial takeaways here are maybe a bit different.
Yeah, it's about legacy and impact beyond business. First, value and seek wise counsel in all areas, personal and professional. Don't assume you know best about everything.
Second, if you engage in philanthropy, be strategic. Think about structure, like foundations, to make it effective and sustainable. Partner with experts.
And third, investing in institutions, universities, research centers, foundations can create a legacy that lasts for generations, impacting far more people than you could alone.
A powerful idea. Which brings us nicely to the final stage, stage 7, the Rockefeller family legacy. How did that network continue after him?
It's fascinating how the family worked to maintain cohesion and continue the work. 3 points here, too, focused on the generational aspect.
Okay.
First, his son, John D. Rockefeller, Jr., really dedicated himself to, well, kind of cleansing the name and building family unity. He established regular family meetings, structures to keep them connected.
Actively managing the family network itself. Second.
Later generations, figures like Nelson, John III, David Suffolk, they clearly inherited that high value placed on family unity, as one source puts it. They collaborated.
Kept the network strong. And third.
They continued the philanthropic mission. Different generations focused on different areas, like conservation. Lawrence S. Rockefeller's work on expanding Grand Teton National Park is a prime example. Significant focused giving continued.
And the benefits of this long-term family networking?
Well, unity allowed them to manage and deploy their very significant resources effectively over decades.
Makes sense.
The continued high-profile philanthropy helped solidify the family's reputation in areas far beyond oil. It built a different kind of legacy.
And by focusing generationally on specific issues, they could achieve really substantial results in those fields like conservation or the arts or medical research.
Right. So the final entrepreneurial lessons, thinking long-term about family and legacy.
Plan for succession, not just of the business, but of the wealth and the values if you want them to endure.
And encourage collaboration among future generations. Shared values and working together are key to maintaining collective impact. Don't let it splinter.
Absolutely. And it shows that a strong family network built around shared purpose, like philanthropy, can genuinely sustain influence and contribute positively for, well, centuries.
So, wrapping this all up, looking across these 7 stages, John D. Rockefeller Sr.'s story is just permeated by this constant, evolving strategic use of networking.
Yeah, from negotiating freight rates as a teenager to advising global foundations in retirement, it was always there. It was fundamental to his business success and then to his philanthropic impact.
It really shows that building connections, understanding negotiation, adapting your network to new challenges, these aren't soft skills. They are absolutely critical at every step.
It wasn't just about power, though that was part of it. It was about understanding people, systems, leverage points, and using connections skillfully.
Absolutely. So maybe a final thought for you listening. Think about the networks you're building right now. How consciously are you doing it?
And how might those connections, professional, personal, maybe even philanthropic down the line, shape not just your immediate success, but your long-term impact, your legacy?
Yeah. Maybe take a page from Rockefeller's book. Think multidimensionally about connection and collaboration. Consider the enduring power of the relationships you cultivate.